Aisha, thank you for being on this call with me today. I'm so excited to have you. This is my first recording, as I said with you, and I'm really excited to have you as my first recorded interview. Um, what I love about what's happening right now is that we've known each other for a very, very long time,
Yeah.
but for a very short time, a long time ago.
Yes, true.
Somehow we have stayed connected. I don't know even how that's happened, but maybe thanks to the internet and and maybe perhaps following inspiring journeys and just keeping tab. And I guess there's some mutual interests between us. So I feel very happy that this has brought us together. And I'm really happy to be able to share your story. You started off your journey in the corporate space, and you've transitioned into being a social entrepreneur. Somewhere on the way, you had a daughter. And let's hear a little bit about your story. Talk to us a little bit about yourself and your journey and where you're at right now with fashion, compassion fashion,
Fashion
and
Compassion was my
fashion
first business.
compassion and everyday phenomenal.
Yeah,
So
perfect. So yeah, likewise, Ava, I'm so happy that we are connecting. And I think obviously it's because of the internet and how, we have when you have common interests, it just kind of you gravitate to that. But just to kind of give a little bit about who I am. So I am originally from Pakistan, but I've grown up in like 5 different countries. I think I'm really a third culture kid. That's what I would say. London being my home. I've lived in London the longest I have anywhere in the world. So I've been in London for about 17 years. And as growing up, I've always been drawn to, social justice, making the world a bit fairer. I've just always been driven to causes. And one of my dreams growing up was to be a women's rights lawyer. And I actually went to a school that was kind of driven by that. I kind of studied that. And then when I worked in a law firm in New York, my dreams of that kind of came crashing down because I just saw, maybe it was what I saw at that time. I was a paralegal. I was in a room filled with kids from all these Ivy Leagues, and we were just doing a case, and we were locked up in it for like a year. And even like third-year lawyers were doing that. And I thought, okay, this is not really what I want to do. I don't think I want to go to law school for another 3 years and do this. But at the same time, I love writing. I mean, I haven't written in a long time, but I used to be a very good writer. I won awards for my writing. And I thought, okay, why don't I look into journalism? And, that's also another way of like getting the voice out. So my parents live in Dubai, and I moved back to Dubai. I was 21. And as you know, you're from Dubai, like it's really hard to find a job when you're that young in Dubai, especially at that time. So I got a job at Asta, a PR company, and that's where we kind of met. And yeah, so I started in there. And I kind of love writing and reporting and things like that. And from there, I moved to London because I wanted to do my master's. I did my master's in media and communications. And here I started working for another kind of small startup while I was studying. And it was all about creating the comms and getting it all together, creating a kind of comm strategy. And then from there, I graduated. I started working for Pepsi. I worked there for about 4.5, 5 years, and I kind of did brand marketing, but towards the retailer space. So the big retailers. And I also did a lot of work with them on sustainability because that's something that's always been close to my heart. But as I said to you earlier, I always had this thing that I wanted to do something for, that kind of creates that space for women and justice. And while I lived in New York, this is like when I was studying there, when I was in high school, I kind of interned in this bank in Bangladesh called the Grameen Bank, which was the first institution that gave loans to women in Bangladesh. And I was completely inspired by that.
Muhammad Yunus, right?
Sorry? Muhammad
Muhammad
Yunus.
Yunus, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh my God, what a man, right? And when you're 15 and a half, 16, and you kind of have that experience, you go alone. I've never lived in Bangladesh or anything, or didn't even know the language. It was, I think, the biggest kind of impact on me that as a young adult. And there I kind of interned in this part called Grameen Check, which was reviving the handloom industry of Bangladesh. So that kind of gave me this idea of how like strategic thinking, business acumen, getting a designer on board and getting the right team can really help these cottage industries boom. And while I was at Pepsi, I was kind of looking at, smaller businesses that would come and get in touch with us. I would look at sustainability, and like everything was cooking in my mind. I don't know how to explain it. And then I decided, like, I'm going to leave this job at some point, and I want to create a business that kind of brings all these kind of smaller businesses together and give them a platform. And because I've been to international school, I have a lot of friends who work in these development agencies. I have lived around the world. I just started asking people like, hey, do you know smaller brands run by women that you feel have who can scale and are looking for some kind of help? And then I don't know how it happened. Maybe it's magic, maybe it's right timing. But then like I kind of got in touch with a few brands, and I started Fashion Compassion, which was in 2011. And I started with the two brands from Dubai, one being Palace Style, the other being Bishtar. And basically, Fashion Compassion is more of a retailer that brings these different brands together, which is all about empowering women and giving them a livelihood. And I ran that for about 8 years. And it was very hard when I had my daughter to like kind of travel. Also in this industry, when you get big orders, the quality kind of goes down unless you have a whole big team. That kind of happened to me as well. It was very stressful. So I decided to make the business quite small, and I would just work with a couple of brands. Then I started doing consultancy work. And from there, I realized that, learnings from Fashion Compassion, learnings from what I was doing with other brands, that really, there is a gap in the market for a brand that is, and I was a mom, right? So I was talking to a lot of moms, that is about, really, really creating a space for women to feel and look good, and something that's casual, but also can be like, mixed and matched with their wardrobe. So that's the idea I came about with Everyday Phenomenal, which was about 2.5 years ago.
Well, let me just pause for you for a second. So at what stage of this journey, which is like a very, very varied,
Long.
very colorful journey,
Yeah.
when did you get pregnant and have your child?
I had my
Your
daughter in 2015.
So is
March.
that after launching Everyday Phenomenal?
No. Everyday Phenomenal, I
After
just
launching
launched it.
now, 2 years ago.
Yeah, so I launched it in 2021, actually.
I meant Fashion Compassion.
In
Compassion.
2011. Yeah, that was before I had my daughter. So Emel was born in 2015. I started Fashion Compassion in 2011. So 4 years.
Halfway through your Fashion Compassion journey,
Yeah.
You had your daughter.
Yeah, I
And
did.
then when she was 4 or something, you
That's
decided
fine.
to scale down.
Yeah, I did.
Talk to me a little bit about that. So it became very stressful because it was too hard to manage everything, or what
I'll tell
happened?
you what, it was a mixture of things, right? So I lived in London. My family's not here. I have, I didn't have that much support. My husband was actually traveling to South Africa every month, and he would be there for like 2 weeks. I had a little child, and I had help at home, but it's not the same thing. It's not like you can just leave your kid and just go on these traveling journeys if you want. So I think I didn't have that extreme amount of support that you need to kind of, leave your child with somebody and kind of go away for a few days. So I think that was one thing that I lacked. The other thing was that I worked with so many, at that time I was working with 39 brands, and out of them, not all used to get really big orders. There were a couple of them, and I was actually working with Virgin Airlines on a really, really big order, which was developing these wallets for the upper class. And I'd gotten it. And as a small business, it's amazing to get that, and I had worked very hard on it. And it was just the quality. So the first 50 orders were fine, but then the rest of the 250, there was a lot of damage. And this happened a couple of times, and then I realized that I had done my utter best to make sure that it would be the best thing possible, but I just couldn't control so many other circumstances. And then I realized that, at this time, as a mother and as a woman, we always feel that you should be able to do everything. And I think you should, but you can't do it. You can't do everything at the same time. Maybe there are little pockets of time that you can do things. And it took me a while to realize that I am not a failure. I am not anybody less. I can give this up. You know, it's a lot with your internal dialogue that we have in our head. And I had to really decide what is right for my well-being and my child's well-being as well, right? Because if you're not a healthy mother, it's not a healthy child. If you keep beating yourself around about your business. And really, honestly, Fashion Compassion has always been my first child. It is something I absolutely love and adore. And I've spent so much of my life on it. So it was hard, but I decided that no, I can't go on this path, and I have to kind of make the business very small where I can only work with online orders that come. So that was my thinking.
So then you reduced the scale of
Yeah,
Fashion Compassion, and you pivoted towards
it was
everyday.
always online. It was always online, but I was concentrating more about getting big orders because that's where you scale, right? Like that's where you can really create that impact. But I decided, that's not where I can do it. Let me see how it kind of works online and what brands can kind of sell. The other problem was a lot of them were artisanal made. They were mainly accessories and they were really lovely, but they would take a while to make. Okay. So we had some stock, but even the designers would not have a lot of stock. So even if you ordered 3 of the same, it would take time. So a lot of customers, it was about educating the customer. A lot of customers don't like that, it's like, I want this, I want it now, so that was also another issue in it. So looking at all of that, I was like, you know what, it can't go on like the way it is, but at the back of it, there were amazing learnings like that I had from that business, a lot of growth. You get to know yourself in such a different way that I think that you can never if you don't put yourself in the deep end, right?
And how have you applied those learnings to what you're doing now with everyday phenomenon?
Massively, yeah. So I think my biggest learning from Fashion Compassion was that I wanted to own the supply chain, because I feel when you don't know the supply chain or it's in someone's hands, you can't guarantee quality. You can't guarantee time. You really can't, because there's so many external factors that you can't control. So I think that's number one. The brand that I sell now, I'm actually wearing one of their sweatshirts. It's I work with with a small group of women seamstresses, and I do all the work with them. So I'm in direct contact with them. I manage, from the quality to the selecting of the materials to the design. So everything is in my control in that way, and I know that entire supply chain. So if I want to increase orders, decrease orders, whatever, I know I'm the master of that. So that was something that was really, really important. And so I think that, and the other thing that I also learned from it is that, not everything that you start, not every startup or anything that you will build will be will can reach its height and then can also come down. Do you know what I mean? It's not like, because I did amazingly well with it, and then there was a time where I had to kind of cut the cord of it, in a way. So I think it's like understanding that it shouldn't be personal. It's about something that, that it's a business. It's separated from you. There are other things that affect it. And that, that fashion is a very hard business. Like, it's not an easy business to deal with, especially when you're a small brand, and especially when you're trying to be sustainable. I mean, there are huge learnings. It's always a very hard kind of walk to do.
So now, are you involved at all with Fashion Compassion? Is it still like
No,
it's
no,
come
I'm
down?
not. No, it's not.
Okay. So
I
then
do keep it. Sorry.
you're now focused on everyday
Everyday
phenomenon.
phenomenal. Yeah. I mean, there's only so much one can do, I guess, if you want to do it right. So yeah, I completely focus on EP, and I kind of, as I said, I source all the materials. Everything comes from Europe. I work with a group of seamstresses, which are situated outside East London. And, I kind of do my entire thing in the UK. Also, because when I was thinking of this idea, it was during COVID and then Brexit. So even if you go abroad, it stacks so heavily, even in Europe, that sometimes I feel it's better to kind of produce at home. So it's a completely London-based brand.
And how does your daughter see all this? And how has it changed you as a mother? Because obviously you've gone through a transition of when you were pregnant and your daughter was, very small. You were in the hustle bustle of Fashion Compassion, and then you decided to, step back from it, but then you started a new venture. And now your daughter's 8.
Yeah, she's almost going to be 9.
Do you think you've changed as a mother with in parallel with this journey? And how do you think your daughter sees you doing all these things, and what impact do you think this has on her?
Yeah, so I think for me as a mother, obviously, when you first have a child, there's no handbook, you're new at it. Everybody's giving you advice all the time, and your head is like going here and there. I think it takes time to find your feet. Do you know what I mean? And I think in the beginning, I just wanted to be like the most perfect mother. Like I wanted to be there for everything. I can't miss anything. Oh my God. No. Like if my daughter said a word and I wasn't there, and I was like so upset. Like I think I was just like in depression. Like how could I not be there? So there's a lot of pressure I put on myself. And I think as you go through it, you realize that the most important thing is for you to be happy, for you to be engaged with your child. Like, if you are not happy within, if you are not comfortable, if you are stressed out, if you don't look at yourself in the most positive way, if you have this negative internal chat going on and, all of that, your child's going to inherit all of this. So I think for me, the biggest learning is to know that I did my best in every way. I know that, and I can proudly say that. And I feel that, I calmed down a lot. I was okay with making mistakes, like we all do. But I think it's about how do you correct those mistakes as well, right? Like, so I think that way, and I gave myself permission to be honest. And I think for my daughter, I think she sees me. I think I am like the most important person in her life. I do believe that. Yesterday I was doing a this journal with her, and in that it said there was a question, and it said three people that you admire or whatever. And she was not very happy with me because I was making her do the journal. So she like looked up with her eyes rolling at me. She's like, obviously, number one is you. So I said, why is it me? It could be anybody. It could be a teacher. It could be anyone. She's like, no, mommy, I think it's you because you manage things so well and you make it look easy to me. I said, no, it's not. It's not easy. But I feel like she sees me doing different things. And, with her, I'm very honest and very open. I tell her when I find things hard, when I'm having a tough time. I don't paint a rosy picture of things for her. Even, when I go to the studio, there's so many issues that happen. Sometimes my production is stuck. Sometimes the material is stuck. She's been through that journey with me. Right. So I think she gets it, and she gets it that I'm making it real and I'm not really painting that rosy picture that, oh my God. And sometimes I don't even get that many orders online. And I'm like, oh my God, I didn't get many orders this week, and I talked to her. She's the person I actually talk to the most about my business at home.
Do you think she's inspired by seeing you doing business and doing your own thing? And,
I think,
because we are role models in a way to
yeah,
our children, right?
yeah,
And we've been brought up with this rule book almost that, go to a good university, get
yeah,
a job, work your whole life till you're
yeah,
65, retire, and then have fun. But, you're kind of you've broken the mold of it because you've gone out there and started your own thing, and you've been very entrepreneurial your whole life, and that's a different narrative
yeah,
for
yeah, yeah,
A, for a woman,
yeah.
and B, for a woman who's not just following the traditional corporate
Path. Yeah,
path.
corporate path. Yeah, I
So,
think so. And I'm involved with a lot of different things. I mean, I work with EP, but I also, I'm very, very involved with charitable work. I'm on the board of a charity and I give it a lot of time. Then I work with another kind of charity in the UK that is all about helping women who are refugees get into mainstream work. So I'm a stylist for that charity. I style them for job interviews and things like that. I'm really heavily involved also with my daughter's school. And I also work with my family business back home. So I do a lot of things. She sees me in a day involved in quite a lot of things. And I prioritize what I need to do. And she sees my calendar where I have things color coded and I like that. I feel I'm really lucky that I can have that kind of lifestyle. Not everyone can. So I think it's a luxury. I really think that because of that, I owe it, to kind of do well with my life, because not everyone can have, this kind of schedule. So I really think that's my duty to kind of do well in what I have.
So how do you manage it all? What's your biggest productivity hack? Because you're obviously juggling a
Oh,
lot of things and being a mother and you're a wife and you
yeah.
have family.
Yeah. I think, you know what I said to you before? I just know that I'm not perfect and I'm going to make a lot of mistakes. And I just don't let a lot of things bother me that used to bother me. So I don't go by any standard at all. It's just my standard and it's my day. And I honestly, I give myself permission to be. And I think in terms of that kind of vibe is just how I deal with my day. And I feel that in terms of productivity, I think I look at my day, right? And I'll be like, okay, so what I will always do, the first task, which is the most important task and the task that I least will enjoy, I always do it first in the morning. Then to give myself a little bit of a break, I'll do something that I like. Then I'll go back to the second. So I feel like if you give yourself those little spaces, right, then I move around in my day. I'm not going to be sitting all the time. But I think that's something that I do. It's worked for me, you know. I don't know if it works for everybody, but I kind of follow the most annoying and the hardest tasks first.
So what is as your daughter's growing into she's soon going to be getting into her teens, so she's preteen.
Yeah.
Uh, what kind of parenting mantra do you have in your mind, and what do you think is going to help you get through some very challenging years that are coming up?
I know. I keep thinking about it. You know, I talk to moms and they tell me their stories and I get so scared. I'm like, oh my God. And you know, it's always the mother that gets the brunt of it. That's the way it is. So I get a bit scared about it, and then I just tell myself, you know, it's going to be okay. It's going to be fine. I think I just want to, you know, be I want to be like a second, like a friend to her. Like I want to be like this kind of parent who's a parent, has boundaries, but also somebody that she feels safe and happy to kind of be with. So I always want to give that approach that, you know, I don't want to have a cookie cutter approach because it doesn't always work with everyone. I want to lead by what my daughter needs. I want to be flexible. I want to listen to her and I want to do what really makes her happy. I just want her to be a happy child.
So what do you do in your me time? What do you do to keep yourself
Mhm.
sane, and which is really only for you?
Oh my God, it's so important. So I feel like I do create me time for myself, and I think that is crucial. Um, I think I do a couple of things. So one thing that I really love because I live in London and I absolutely love the city is I go for walks. Walking is my absolute favorite thing. I mean, I go for long walks. I sometimes listen to music. Sometimes I go with a friend, but I actually enjoy walks alone because I just feel it's my time with the nature and connection. That's my really like, I love that. I also, you know, do a bit of meditation. I think it's I've just started it recently, but it's really amazing for me. And then, you know, meeting up with friends, like some very good friends that you kind of that give you that, you know, that really boost that you kind of need. And I love like London is filled with things that you can kind of do. I mean, I can't even I mean, I can list all of them, but there's so much.
Culture. Yeah.
Yeah, I do attend a lot of these things, a lot. And I'm not like, I love fashion in general. So I think one of the best things that I do is I go into stores and I look. And Liberty in London is my favorite place. Like I can go there every single day and be happy, I think. That's just what I love about that store. It's so beautiful.
So what would be your advice to moms who are kind of trying to build their own careers, but also trying to be moms?
Oh God, this is tough. But I would say, you know what? Um, the first and most important thing is you. So look after you and your needs. They come first and really connect with yourself. Don't really, you know, think about like like block all the stuff that people tell you. Really, really be in touch with who you are in your gut and what you feel like. And I think there is no formula to be a great entrepreneur and to be a great mom. It's so unique to everybody. I think whatever calls out to you and whatever you feel comfortable with is what you have to go for. And like you can't do it all at once. I personally do really believe in that. I think you can do everything, but at different times, and just be honest with yourself and don't put these kind of, assumptions and these ideas that have been passed through generations of culture and upbringing and all of that.
I think, yeah, you bring a very good point, because I also feel that there's no such thing as balance, right?
Yeah.
It's like some days you'll be working more, and
Yeah.
some you'll be more of a parent,
Yeah.
and it's never equal. There's no balance. It's like,
Yeah.
it's
It
this.
tiptoes.
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah. As long as, in the way what you said, okay, I'll tell you, this balance or days, that's how I thought about everyday phenomenal. Like, if you look at the star, it's a 7-pronged star, and not each point is same. It's uneven because it's about our days. None of the days are even. But if you look at it, it still looks like a nice star, right? That's how
Yeah.
life is, right? That's how your week is. It's always, but that's what imperfection is. Imperfection is beautiful. Like you go through all of that and then it still turns out well. And that's what my thing is with Everyday Phenomenal, with
That's so
moms.
nice. It's given me goosebumps.
Why?
That's really cool. No, because it's really cool. I didn't know that. That's
Yeah.
very cool. It's a really unique brand representation.
Yeah.
So it's not cliche. It's not,
It's
now
not,
in
it's what I used to tell my daughter this. This is how we used to talk about it, like since she was a
that's
baby.
beautiful. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and that's how I thought about the brand, because my days were never all
The same.
great, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What's your favorite tool that makes your life easier? It could be anything.
True.
What could you not rely? What do you need every day to, like, could be a notebook, for example. Like,
I
what is the
need
one
my nanny.
your
That's all.
nanny?
Yeah, I need a daughter's nanny. I mean, if she's not around, it's very hard. She's like,
Let's not call her a tool.
I meant,
I'm
I didn't
joking,
mean
I'm
a tool.
joking,
I
I'm
mean the
joking.
person
I'm
that,
joking. What you
she's
need the
the,
most. I'm
I need
joking.
her the most. I think she's the most important person in my life.
What about the tech? What about in terms of tech? Is there any tool that you use a lot?
No, I actually am trying not to use my phone a lot or anything, no tech
How's
gadget.
that working out? How's that
It's
working?
hard, but I keep it away. It's very hard, but
Because we do everything on our phones. Like, everything's on our
yeah.
phone. Like,
So
every
I
single.
will, but I won't go on social media. Or I won't look at my emails all the time. I used to, I'm waiting for a doctor's appointment. I'm going looking at my emails. No, I don't do that anymore. I just try to be with myself a little bit. I check in, like if I have that time, I'll be like, okay, what am I thinking? What am I feeling? Like a body scan about on me, like instead of looking at different people's pictures. So I try to be more present, and I actually just talk to people around me. In London, people don't talk to you, right? So I just like interact with people instead of being on the gadget. But I don't have a tool as such that I use. I would say a person is definitely our nanny housekeeper, because she has made my life very easy. Yeah.
Because of her that you have the
Yeah, because
flexibility.
how else would I do it? I don't have anybody here. Yeah.
Yeah, impossible. Do you have a favorite parenting book
No,
or self-help book that you recommend? No.
not really. I read a lot of stuff on self-help, but I don't know. I don't think I have a a book that I feel has changed my life in that way or whatever. But I'm
Um,
reading a book right now that I love, which
what's
is really cool. All My Mothers.
okay.
It's quite cool. It's it's a journey into this little, it starts from a little girl's perspective on like it's just a really good kind of as a mother, you kind of understand that kind of journey and what we want our mothers to be and how each mother is so different. Like it's just a very wholesome. I'm still reading it, but I find it really, really like an amazing, very fun read as well.
Okay. Do I have any other questions? Any good television you've watched lately? Any good shows? Anything
Oh
you
yeah, so
recommend?
I watched this thing on Netflix, Fool Me Once. It's like everyone's talking about it. It's like this like thriller crime series. It's cool. It's really cool. It's again a mother's story. It's
Okay. I
and this
haven't heard.
woman And this woman is so cool. Oh my God. Just
Is it on
watch it.
Netflix? Is it on
It is,
Netflix?
it is. And it is like, I was so glued to it. Like I was watching it, my husband, and then he had like dinners and I was like, I'm very sorry, but I gotta watch this. So I finished it in like 2.5 days. I honestly didn't go out. I was like, you know what, gotta watch this. And then I recommended it to some friends and they were messaging me. They're like, oh my God, we've canceled going on. We are watching this. It's fun. I mean, you get the story, but it's just gripping.
Awesome. Cool, cool. I'll check it out.
Yeah, yeah, definitely check it out.
That's last closing question.
Yeah.
What is your ultimate goal as, it's a difficult question, so doesn't matter really, but just you can be very open about it. What is your ultimate goal as a working mom?
Okay. So I could say my ultimate goal, you know, your goals keep changing as you evolve as a person. So I can't tell you my lifelong goal right now. You know, it might change. But I think my immediate goal or my goal in the next couple of years as a working mom is to really be balanced as much as possible within my role as a mom and a working mom, and really understand like which side do I kind of need to pivot at certain times. I think sometimes we get so involved that, you know, you kind of lose that sight. I hope that I always have that where I know which side needs me more, because yeah. And I think I want to be able to, I can't say be fair, but, you know, be as present to both as possible. I know sometimes it's hard, but just having that juggling act and, you know, be able to create, you know, a brand that kind of impacts people and makes them smile and makes them think about their day a bit more differently and makes them want to, you know, connect with themselves more and understand that as mothers, you know, the most important thing is first to look after yourself. And then for my daughter, I want to be there for her as a friend, you know, somebody that she can speak very openly to. And I can be that guide. So I would say that.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. That was fun.